Hydrofluorocarbons, HFCs, are used in the increasing worldwide trades of refrigeration, air conditioning systems, insulating materials, fire extinguishing agents, and a number of other areas. They are highly effective. HFCs are potent greenhouse gases. They are 26,000 times the strength of CO2. Although markets such as the EU have attempted to regulate the use of these F gases, the black market has soared, with large amounts of refrigerant gas smuggled into countries across Europe. It is estimated up to 34 million tonnes CO2 equivalent, or 33% of the legally allowed quota. These illegitimate substances are shockingly easy to get a hold of, and regularly infiltrate the legitimate supply chain at borders and even through online marketplaces. As part of this video, I sat down with some key representatives to discuss the full extent of the issue with illegal HFCs, their impacts, and what can be done to tackle this growing issue. Why do you think this is the biggest black market that no one has ever heard of?
The biggest black market that no one's ever heard of for various reasons. Firstly, many people are unaware of the fact that there is a booming illegal trade in the actual refrigerant gases that go into cooling equipment. Also, these gases are incredibly potent greenhouse gases, so they're having a huge environmental impact. And it's a very big market because it's associated with huge amounts of profits, and often it's overlooked by the enforcement community. So it's very attractive to traders and people who want to engage in illicit trading to go into illegal HFC trading, because there's huge profits combined with relatively low penalties.
From an industry perspective, what are the biggest challenges when it comes to illicit HFCs?
The biggest challenge really is the online sales route. It's long been the bugbear of the responsible sector of the industry. The phase down of medium GWP HFCs has created a demand for cheaper sources of some refrigerants. And of course, many of them will be illegally imported. So that's always an issue for us to keep on top of. Similarly, the online sales of pre-charged equipment has been something I've been actively trying to address for around 10 years now. And that's about ensuring that the online sellers comply with the same rules as everybody else. And that's a never-ending saga. And of course, the online sellers of refrigerants tend not to ask for the evidence of compliance with the regulation, which is in the form of a REFCOM or equivalent registration. So as I say, that's always an ongoing problem for us.
Illicit trade is an unfair fight, and legitimate businesses, citizens, communities, and economies are the losers. Legitimate businesses pay taxes and invest in regulatory compliance. Criminal sellers don't follow these rules. They ignore public and product safety, steal IP, and don't pay tax. This undermines national and international progress towards economic recovery and sustainability goals, ultimately impacting entire communities.
EIA decided to investigate the illegal trade in HFCs to find a little bit more about what was actually going on the ground. We did various investigations. The main one was in Romania, where we did a field investigation on the ground. And it was surprising how easy it was to get hold of illegal HFCs. And also, I was shocked at the amount of HFCs that we were able to source. We looked to identify the traders involved. We looked on e-commerce sites and also on online trading platforms. And we met with various different traders who explained how they were getting illegal HFCs into Europe, and also how Romania was actually a hotspot for onward trading of these HFCs. And it was really shocking to hear some of the methods they were using. For example, some of the traders were actually putting canisters of HFCs into passenger coaches going across Europe.
The illicit HFC market is the biggest threat to meeting our climate goals. The HFC's black market would be the EU's 20th largest country in terms of CO2 emissions, ahead of Estonia, if the global warming potential of illegal HFCs were measured alongside the EU's 27 member states. And it's important to remember that these illicit HFCs also cost lives.
We saw a number of systems that were marked as being charged with R134A, but which had actually been charged with a mixture which had methyl chloride in it. The problem is that with modern compressors, they have aluminium parts inside them, and the aluminium actually reacts, I should say, with the methyl chloride and produces oxygen gas, which is of course highly explosive. So what happened was a few technicians actually lost their lives over that illicit refrigerant use because the systems they were working on literally exploded as they were working on them, killing them outright.
So, what do we need to be doing to tackle this global problem?
A major way to help tackle illegal trade is through cross-border cooperation. Our investigations have shown that this is not just an isolated issue. HFCs are smuggled across the whole of Europe, and many companies work in various different countries, which makes it a real challenge for national enforcement agencies to actually take action against these companies. So we need to see a much bigger cross-border multi-agency enforcement efforts go ahead to try and tackle this issue.
The demand will always be there for contractors seeking cheaper supply routes. They're being squeezed by their clients, so it's only natural that they're going to seek out cost cutting at their end. So really, we need the supply route to be better controlled so we can cut off the source at its head. What we've always said is better enforcement of the regulations we already have in place will give us, as the industry bodies, the power to do more. And that's going to have a far better impact in the long run.
Last year, the team here at VistaWorks received Innovate UK funding to conduct research into reducing the climate impact of illicit HFCs using technology. Despite being a very complex supply chain and regulatory environment, there are two major intervention points that we can target with digital, data-driven solutions. Success here will disrupt the black market from either end. With input from key stakeholder groups, we updated VistaWorks risk profiling tools on online platforms to influence buyer behaviour towards safer and legal purchases, reducing the demand for illicit HFCs and closing the intelligence loop by providing robust data on the volumes, characteristics, and end destination of illegal HFCs in a particular jurisdiction. We look forward to continuing our work with enforcement agencies, regulators, industry bodies, and intelligence professionals in this area. We will continue to provide them with actionable intelligence so that together we can reduce the economic, social, health, and environmental impacts of illicit HFCs.